Hi, thank you for coming to Blocks and Beyond. We appreciate you being here. As she mentioned, I am Clarissa Peereboom. I want to introduce the people we have here today. Can you guys hear me? Okay, so first we have with us is Ricardo Martins, and he is the Chief Officer of Bison Digital Assets. It is one of the first banks-backed virtual assets provider in Portugal, and Ricardo is leading the Bison Digital mission to become the perfect bridge between cash equivalents and digital assets. He has extensive global experience spearheading end-to-end management of technical operations, projects, sales, and team functions across banking and insurance sector. He's passionate about innovation, blockchain, and digital assets. Please help me welcome him to the stage. And also with us today is Paulo Zhan, also of Bison Digital Assets. Paulo is on the part of the business development team for Bison, and he specializes in introducing clients from the world of traditional finance to the exciting opportunities and benefits of digital assets, while simultaneously assisting crypto-native clients in expanding their reach and establishing a presence in the real world. So please help me welcome him as well. Thank you. Let's have a seat. Not with us today is Alessandro Palombo. Unfortunately, he had some emergency circumstance and was not able to come, so forgive us for that. But we will try and make it interesting for you nevertheless. So, guys, let's get started. Blockchain's initial popularity was actually due to its use of cryptocurrency, facilitating the use of cryptocurrency, especially the transactions. But today, it's extending a bit farther than that, and it has potential scope in supply chain management, cloud storage, cybersecurity, smart contracts. We're even starting to see things with gas and the ecosystem, healthcare, insurance, sports, esports, media, and then also fashion. And then you also have now where it's really going into traditional banking and also global citizenship, digital identity. So let's talk about some of that. Ricardo, you know, most of us have heard about BlackRock's ETFs and people who want to tokenize assets, real-world assets. But tell me, in what ways do you see blockchain shaping the future of how banks will do business?
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you for the invite. It's a pleasure to come to Algarve. So always a pleasure. I think that the impact is already happening in traditional banking for several reasons. But maybe starting from the analogy that many times it's done with internet and the .com era. The feeling is more or less the same. Where in the early days of the internet, people were very skeptical about banks using the internet. And fast forward to today, it's almost unthinkable to see a bank that does not leverage on cloud, that does not have a home banking, and that does not integrate with several businesses and platforms on the internet, right? It's unthinkable. I think we are probably at that stage, at that tipping point now. That's what we feel. When it comes to banking and very traditional banking, which is our case, so Bison Digital Assets is a subsidiary of a bank in Portugal. We're still the only bank in Portugal with a license to operate in digital assets. But it's shaping up already, because in banking, you have a certain set of rules and standards to abide to. But some of the key fundamentals of banking and regulated financial institutions comes to the source of funds. And right now, we already have a couple of years of blockchains and crypto. And so there is a lot of wealth being built in the digital asset space. And so just from the simple fundamentals of a bank being able to understand the source of funds of either an individual or a corporate institution is very important. So that's one very basic one that that banks need to start understanding and start knowing how to deal with that. The other one is around the needs for integration. So many of the business models that exist, they always need this connection to what we still call the real world. The real world still happens in fiat rails for the most part of it. And so it's important to make that bridge, to see this asset class as a legitimate asset class, and to be offered to see it as a cash equivalent like other assets. So when a client at the bank is managing their wealth in crypto, it's the same thing as managing their wealth in other assets for the most part, or at least that's our goal. And the integration also through APIs and through the business flows of some startups, for instance, in the space, which we can also talk about later. It's also important. And besides that, this asset class has very specific, interesting features that need to be accounted for. It's important to understand that there are a lot of things that you can see in the flows of this asset class that you cannot see in traditional finance. And so looking into on-chain, having that know-how, understanding what interactions the certain wallets have had in the past, all the history we can check on-chain with appropriate tools. It's also very important, and it blends into the source of funds as well. But besides that, even the fundamentals of blockchain and in specific with crypto assets, that there is this amazing feature of self-custody, but self-custody is not exempt from risks. We continue to see people that lose their private keys, or they get hacked, or a bunch of situations.
There's people who don't know how to handle their own assets.
There are people
also
that don't know how to
language.
handle their own assets. It's true. I mean, every one of us knows how to be self-custodian of our money in notes or coins, physical notes. But we opt by trusting financial institutions. And financial institutions have this role, this best position to fit this gap. And it's no different in the digital asset space. So having safe custody of funds, having an institutional player holding these treasuries is also important, and is already shaping up the landscape.
Great, thank you. Paulo, how about you? One of the things Bison has assisted with lately is being able to buy global citizenship with cryptocurrency here in Portugal through some of the funds that are new in this area. How has this been a popular way to get citizenship, and are there other countries allowing this? And if not, why not?
I think it's been thank you for the question first and foremost, and thanks everyone for being here. I think there are other countries in Europe that that have a golden visa program that then will allow you a path to citizenship. And they include Spain, Italy, Greece, Malta, and Cyprus, so basically the countries in Southern Europe. But that I know of, Portugal so far is the only one that allows you to get a golden visa by subscribing to a fund using crypto that then invests in Portuguese companies that will ultimately hold Bitcoin ETFs. I think it's a very popular solution for a lot of clients that we have that come from other countries in the world, fleeing either war or fleeing, political instability. And it's becoming increasingly popular. That I know of, we are the only country so far that offer this type of solution for Golden Visa that then offers you a path to citizenship. But given the popularity, I'm guessing that in the near future, the other countries will also offer a similar solution as well.
But we kind of see this now, right? With WorldCoin, they're changing their name, but they are going to be doing digital identities. Can you talk a little about that? Do you know?
Yeah, I can touch upon that. I mean, I don't want to I don't know the details in specific for WorldCoin, but digital identity is definitely one of the use cases that is identified in this technology from very early on. It's still today not fully grasped by any particular project, but I think it's very relevant that some projects like WorldCoin are making some move towards that. Because you can definitely leverage on this technology, not for just the financial aspects of it, but having being used by an easy, more convenient and trustworthy way to identify a human being. I think in the context of WorldCoin is also more due to the fact that in their premise, in the future, it will be difficult to differentiate between talking to an AI or a real person. But in the end of it all, it's also something, a good example that this technology and Web3 is blending into the traditional platforms and systems, also government platforms, which is good to see.
Thank you for that. Now, Paulo, what about the regulations that need to be taken into consideration?
There's the misconception that crypto does not have regulation, but I think there has been regulation in some form or shape since 2013 by the European Central Bank. The Bank of Portugal, which is the regulator for crypto, also has had regulation for the banks in Portugal in dealing with crypto since the year 2020. And we have upcoming regulation too in the form of MiCA, which is going to be adopted by all the countries in the European Union, which is supposed to be a more standardized form of crypto regulation for the countries in the European Union. So yeah, we do have some regulation, and there's a lot of the regulation that we need to take into consideration. And a lot of people just kind of think that there is no regulation, which is a huge misconception. And yeah.
Yeah, I think so. What about with MiCA in particular? Ricardo, maybe do you feel like it's going to impact the future of these applications right now?
Yeah, definitely. I think just to double down on that, so there is still many people that look into the space as an unregulated space, which is not true. In local law, there is the space is already regulated in Portugal. It's regulated mostly on the matters of anti-money laundering and terrorist financing, of course, but you do need a license to operate with digital assets in Portugal, and you can see that online. It's very transparent. You just go to the Bank of Portugal and you can see the entities in Portugal that hold that license. So that's one very important aspect. I think that there is still a lot of unknown even in Portugal for many people. And right now, MiCA is already in place. So the law was passed, was approved last year. It is already in force for stablecoins since the 1st of July or the last day of June this year. And this is something also that it's still something that is not fully, very well absorbed, but it will shape a lot of the future for very simple reasons. So, but just to understand that MiCA stands for Markets in Crypto Assets. It's a regulatory framework for all the European Union and also the Euro Economic Area. That establishes a common playing field of rules to operate across the member states. A part of that legislation is around stablecoins, and it's already in place. So to be able for the issuers of stablecoins and that they want to offer stablecoins in the European Union, they need to be fully compliant with MiCA. That's already in force. And the second part is for all the players, virtual asset service providers, which in MiCA will be called crypto asset service providers, such as us. We are in the process to acquire a license. The legislation goes into force in the 1st of January next year. There will be a transition period as well. Still not clear in each member state how much, but should be around 6 months. And so that will be very, very important, and you already are starting to see some consequences of that. So if you look into the amount of stable coins in circulation denominated in Europe, they have been rising very fast since the go live of MiCA. And that's, again, goes to show that regulation, by establishing clear rules, it attracts investment. It attracts investments, it attracts dynamics. It's basically the ultimate goal to be able to work in a good way with technology, right? So that's already happening. Even for the crypto asset service providers, I cannot help to acknowledge the fact that we are seeing some moves from international players doing some acquisitions or some mergings with some companies in Europe. And in my perspective, it's because they see Europe as a place where there are rules. You might not agree with all the rules. Regulation does not need to be perfect, but there is regulation. And it is for a significant wide area, right? We're talking about the Euro economic area. And even conceptually, you can no longer say that there is no regulation or there is no definition of a crypto asset anymore. There is written on European Union regulation. It recognizes as an asset class. It provides clear rules, and it provides a clear path towards financial institutions also to serve that space.
But let me ask you this. Maybe, Paulo, you can answer this for us too. Because sometimes I feel like some of those rules and regulations that they've made have created barriers to entry for some people because they're making rules before they are really aware of how things will go and how things actually work with different sorts of digital assets. And Paulo, do you see any other barriers to entry for this?
Yeah, I think I would like to answer that the other way around first. I think there are also barriers of entry into the traditional finance world as well. So a lot of the value proposition of blockchain and Web3 is banking the unbankable, which is why crypto adoption is so high in countries like, in the Southeast Asia or in Africa, Nigeria. And so I think, there are also barriers of entry to the traditional finance world. But in regards to crypto, I think, yes, we do have some barriers, and a lot of it can be solved with, education and just, people have to read more about what blockchain technology is and about what it is that they're going to put their money in. And all in all, there are a lot of misconceptions revolving Web3 and crypto, which can easily be dispelled with some reading and with some education. So I think we also have a part to do in that as a bank.
Do you think it's the rewording? Because we went from blockchain to crypto to Web3, so...
I'm sorry, I didn't understand the question.
I said, do you feel like that is a barrier to entry, just the way we're changing how we say things? Because before we started with blockchain, and then it went into crypto, and now it is considered Web3. So...
No, I don't think so. I think, we have a lot of terminology that might be a little bit complicated, but at the end of the day, there are just a couple of keywords that will make easier for people to understand the whole spectrum of things that they need to understand in crypto. So,
do you feel like it's also a cultural thing as well? Because there are some countries that they are only using the fiat, or let's say Portugal, for example, where a lot of people here still only use their euros, and they don't like to use banks or credit cards or anything like that. Do you feel like that is also one as well?
Yep, that could be. I'm thinking about some countries in East Asia where probably things move at a different speed. I'm just thinking about even before we reach crypto or digital assets. I think here we still use a lot of coins and paper cash, but I remember the last couple of times that I was in East Asia, people no longer use cash, so to speak. They don't even use the card. They just use the apps to pay for everything. So I think that's one step closer to reaching a point where you're cashless, and we just adopt things, at a slower pace, also because of regulation. But I guess yes, it can be cultural, but I think it also has a lot to do with regulations and just how countries adopt things. But yeah, there's a point in that too.
Great. And I think for those people, they kind of distrust institutions. But, I feel like it has to do with a lot of people actually going out and saying that it's a scam. It's all a scam, and it's not real money. It's not really doing anything. What do you say to those people? Because you're in banking and you're trying to do business in it. So what do you say to them when they tell you it's a scam?
I'll just go first. I think there's also a lot of scams in the traditional finance world, right? I've seen a lot of pump and dump schemes with company stocks. So, scams are everywhere. I guess it goes back to the previous question and the previous answer about education. I think it's very important that people read about the projects before they pour any type of money in it and before they invest anything. Scams are going to be there. I'm not going to say otherwise, but I think that's also where regulation helps, right? So as part of our, know your customer processes at the bank, we can't really accept any type of deposits that we feel like they come from a wallet that's linked to money laundering or terrorism financing or any type of scams whatsoever. So I think more widespread adoption of regulation is going to help dispel this aura that we have a lot of scams in the crypto community. But that's still, people still have to do their reading. People still have to be educated in what it is that they're doing and not just put their money on something just because someone told them to. There's no easy money in anything. So yeah, I don't know, Ricardo, if you want to add something.
How about you, Ricardo?
Yeah, I think that it's the same thing goes again with the internet, right? As time goes by, every one of us receives new sophisticated attempts of phishing of any sorts and kinds, right? I receive calls from WhatsApp saying that they are, the mail delivery, that I have something that I need to pay to unlock something because I was not at my house or something like that. So, and again, it goes down in the end to this layer before blockchain. Blockchain lives typically in the internet. Of course, we might have some private blockchains as well, but they all live on top of the internet. And but the solution is not to shut down the internet. Is learning how to work in the new reality, and the sooner we learn how to do that, the better, so that we are all in a more level playing field also when it comes to education and etc. So I see a lot of parallels there. Whenever in history, when we have breakthroughs in technology, there will always be bad actors trying to use technology in their favor. And the more sound the technology is, the more that happens. So we need to be aware of that and be conscious of that, but not mix everything in the same bag.
But do you feel like the press focuses in more on the blockchain crypto side of things instead of, there are banks who have been found to, get their hands slapped, Wells Fargo and some other banks who have in their own right done some things. Mm-hmm. And there are a lot of the biggest scams we've heard of, they have their own names and so forth. So how do you guys feel about that? Do you feel like it's just more publicized crypto-wise, or it's kind of even?
Yeah, I think there is still a negative sort of connotation in the air, but then again, I'm not so deep of knowledge about the US. But one thing for me seems clear is that while in the US there is not a clear definition even of crypto assets, in Europe you have a clear definition of crypto asset. That's a huge difference, right? And so I think that the prejudice or misconception about this space is still here. In terms of risks, again, you see definitely, many financial institutions, big names, being fined for not following some laws or not identifying some cases in the traditional finance. In the crypto asset space will be the same, right? So if you don't pay attention to all the new developments, all the new ways where bad actors try to come into the space trying to be disguised of something that they aren't. Of course, you have a risk there, but you already have that risk in traditional finance as well. So again, the importance of education, and this is, new technology comes in a very fast pace, and typically banks are slow movers indeed. But the later you start, the worse. So I'm glad that at Bison we are already taking this step in a controlled way. It's not that, people like to call us the crypto-friendly bank or institution, but it's not about that. It's about being fair and applying rules. We reserve the right to not accept transactions, clients, etc., the same way it happens all day in a
Let me
normal
ask real
business day.
quick, what kind of services in crypto
Yeah.
are you guys actually offering?
Yeah, thank you for the question. So but the base
Before we go,
the base
I'm
services
getting the evil eye over here.
the base services of Bison is custody and trading. It's really just as simple as that. So providing safe custody of your assets and being able to trade, either buy or sell these digital assets, and also to provide safe custody for potentially other tokens. We are working also with, conversations with startups in real-world asset tokenization, etc. So we are basically, focusing on the foundations that support a lot of use cases on top. Okay.
Thank you. I want to thank you both for being here with us today. If you guys have more questions for Paulo or Ricardo, they will be at the back of the room. And thank you very much for listening to us. We appreciate your time. And for those of you interested in crypto, we do have the Algarve Blockchain Community, who does have meetups once a month. So please feel free to find out about that. We are educating anyone and everyone in the Algarve if you want to learn more about it. Thank you again for your time, guys.
Thank
We
you,
appreciate it.
Clarissa.